Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. I am recording in post today because my computer decided to change my default microphone last night. So I recorded an entire episode without sound. It has game sounds. I'm not sure why there aren't any right now. But yes. We are sitting here on the moon. As you can see by me kind of just spinning this around in circles. I did record this about 12 hours ago, so around 11 o'clock last night. So there will be a slightly orange tint to it. I have figured out what that is. It's a little program called Flux. Changes the tint of your screen, so it's easier to look at night. And there we are on the moon, as you can see. We are on the sunward side, facing slightly away from Kerbin. Not a whole lot, but again, it's in that direction, not that direction, that direction. Right over there, where I'm indicating. So, as one of my friends decides to play a game, can't see what it is in the tiny little window, our goal is to get back to Kerbin with this little thing. And yeah, as you can see, we are very low on fuel. Up in the corner there. I keep trying to indicate to it, and I can't because this is in post. Here we go. Let's take off. We'll give it a little bit of fuel. The good thing about these engines is this is a really light capsule, so these really low impulse engines can actually propel this quite a bit without using a whole lot of fuel. So checking if we have an orbit here, or if we're getting one, which we're not just yet, so I figure we might want to tilt it over a little bit, which we'll find out is a bad idea soon. The thing about the newly generated terrain, the procedurally generated terrain, is it changed the surface of the moon, so the mountains are actually a lot higher now. So you're looking at 4,000 or 5,000 meters that you actually need to achieve a safe orbit, or else at some point in that orbit you'll run into the top of a mountain, which is slightly counterproductive to orbiting. So here we are. It's going a little too low there, so I decided to boost us back up. So as I just mentioned, those mountains, they're there. They do things. They get in the way. And I turned over a little too soon, to be entirely honest with you guys. And there's the same friend playing the same game. I don't know how often they need to start that. But as I believe I have mentioned in this game before, I am not really a professional at it. I'm better than some, but there's a lot of really good people at this game, and I am not necessarily one of them. Here we go, finally remembering to put the landing gear up. Took me that long, only 3.5 minutes. We're using the RCS to boost ourselves upward a little bit. As you can see, we've gotten a lot higher now. We are above the mountaintops. So from this altitude, we could achieve an orbit that would be safe, but there was a reason I was gonna say, but I guess we're just gonna go with it. We'll find out. I don't actually remember what happened because again, it was 11 o'clock at night last night. I was a little tired. Orbit isn't exactly lined up with the orbit around Kerbin, which it would be nice if it was. It would make it a lot easier to actually get back, but just kind of took off in whatever direction I felt like, and it happened to be this direction. The not solar system, there's the Kerbin rise in the background. The Milky Way, I'm just gonna call it that. I'm not sure what the galaxy is actually called. That galactic plane there that you see, that's typically what you want to stay on when you're going for different orbital rendezvous procedures, because pretty much everything in the game besides that what is it, the 5th planet or asteroid thing, the giant rock that's really far out. Everything but that is pretty much on that orbital plane. So if you can stay on that, you'll be able to get just about anywhere in the solar system, assuming you have the thrust and time things right. It's the timing that's the hard part. But as you can see here, the moon and Kerbin are both on that plane there, that galactic plane. The second moon of Kerbin, I forget what it's called, that other one, is actually slightly off of that plane as well. It's not a whole lot, you can still get there relatively easily, especially because unlike that random asteroid, it's significantly closer to Kerbin, so it's a lot easier to actually get there. So here we are, we're trying to achieve an orbit. We've gotten up to, I believe that's 20,000 meters up there. I would check, but I can't because it's in post. There we go. I can't actually see what it's saying. It would be great if this would just fill up the whole screen when I was recording in post, but I guess it doesn't do that. So we're going to give it a little more thrust here to try to get up around that before I realize it's not working quite the way I want it to, because we're just going up and not so much out. So we throttle down and warp time until we can get up to the periapsis there, because as most of you should be aware, if you accelerate at the periapsis in your direction of motion, periapsis being your highest point in the orbit, if you accelerate in the direction of motion, it will actually increase the apoapsis, or the lowest point of your orbit, to the point where you can actually establish a relatively circular orbit through those means. And that's what I'm trying to do. So we are still very close to the moon, so it doesn't let us accelerate time all that much, so it is going a little slow. Sorry about that. Here we go, we'll slow it down a little bit and give it a little bit of thrust. Once we find where we're going there. Give it a little bit of thrust. Well, not thrust. We are out of fuel at this point, but we do still have RCS fuel. So as you can see, it's brought out the apoapsis on the opposite side of the moon. I believe it's at like 10 or 15,000 meters. So here we are, we're going to go check to make sure we don't crash into a mountain. So obviously the way to check if you're going to crash into a mountain is go crash into it. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Here we are, traveling across the dark side of the moon. We're getting a little closer now. We're at about 30,000 meters, it looks like. Maybe we're at 20,000. We're at something thousand. It's the sunrise over the moon, and here we are, getting very close. And a little bit of lag there, but this is the closest we will get to the moon on this orbit. Having some camera issues there. Just wants to revolve instead of do what it's supposed to do. But yes, there we go. So we'll warp time up a little bit more. Now some of you may have noticed the terrible mistake I've just made. So if you look up in the right corner, I'll let you guys look at that a little bit before I actually tell you what's wrong. Meanwhile, we're going to go and try to rearrange our orbit so we're pointing towards Kerbin, which I'm furiously indicating over there. So hopefully we can actually pull ourselves away from the influence of the moon and allow ourselves to drift back towards Kerbin. Which, this capsule doesn't actually have parachutes, so this is kind of just a useless gesture. But I don't know what to do in Minecraft, so we're doing this. Spoilers. I don't actually think that's spoilers, but whatever. Here we are trying to establish that new orbit. until I find out it's going to take 6 hours of thrusting to get there. Which one I decide that's probably not a good idea. So I decided to bring it back to a more reasonable amount of thrust. Which, come to find out, you can't get, but I figured I would try something anyway to re-establish an orbit. Or at least establish a better orbit. And here I am just experimenting with things to figure out which one gives me the best ratio of thrust to result. Yeah. So here, I think we have just run into our problem. For those of you that haven't noticed, our solar panels have been pointing directly away from the sun this whole time. And the capsule has been using the power. So we're dead. We're dead, floating over Kerbin with no way of rotating the spacecraft to get the panels back into the sun. Sad times. So, this capsule is now officially stuck in orbit of the moon. So at some point, possibly in the future, we may send a rescue mission for it, but until that point, it's probably going to stay this way. I think maybe once it gets on the other side of Kerbin, the solar panels may end up in the sun, but that would be a very long episode, and I don't actually feel like waiting that long. So, we're not going to do that. Don't ask for it, guys. Really, don't. And here we are, floating over the moon, not knowing quite what to do with ourselves. But yes, for those of you that aren't aware, a new new update for Kerbal Space Program should be coming out relatively soon. Nobody knows exactly when, but they've been hinting at it all week. I believe this will be update 0.22, alpha 0.22. Again, it is still an alpha. But this update should add a lot of new features that a lot of us have been looking for, including the research that we've all been looking forward to. That's what that extra building was that I was wondering about when I first introduced this update to you guys. So that extra building is for research, meaning we have to research the better parts. Won't that be fun? I don't believe it's save breaking, but I may go ahead and start a new save anyway, just so that we can start fresh and experience all of the features they have to offer. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll get to that. That may or may not be this weekend. It's currently Friday. I recorded this Thursday. Currently Friday. I believe it is coming out this weekend, so look for it this weekend. If it doesn't come out, then don't expect a video. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing right now on the screen. I'm just kind of sitting there. I think I was talking to you guys. I was probably saying the same thing I just said now. Again, it was late. I didn't quite know what I was doing. But we are approaching the end of the episode. If you would like to see me go and rescue this capsule at some point in the future, remember to hit that subscribe button. Sitting here over the moon. Well, thank you guys for watching. Got the Kerbin rise in the background to go out with. So, like if you liked this video, subscribe if you would like to see more. I've been Z Pelfrain. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.